Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. I am Kimberly D'Souza in your company. It's just a little bit after 6 a.m. and this is your Spotlight on Now. Now we're going to be talking to two ladies from the Equal Opportunities Commission. Of course, today is International Women's Day and we will be celebrating women. And of course, the Equal Opportunities Commission is the leading state advocate on eliminating discrimination and promoting equality. So we're going to jump into that right now. With me, I have Miss Shelly Dolabaille, which is the Manager of Corporate Communications at the EOC. And I also have Miss Cheryl Ann Peters, who is the Legal Officer 1. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning, Kimberly.
Thank you so much for joining us on International Women's Day. Of course, happy International Women's Day to
Same
you.
to you. Thank you, same to you.
All right, so before we jump into the work of the EOC, just tell us briefly, I guess I'll start with you, Shelly. What is the EOC about?
Well, the Equal Opportunity Commission, we were created in 2008 to implement the Equal Opportunity Act. Actually, let me pass this to Cheryl. Yes.
Thank you so much for having us.
Of course.
As she was saying, the Equal Opportunity Act was created in 2000, but the Equal Opportunity Commission came into existence in 2008. And what the Act speaks to is the elimination of discrimination and the promotion of equality among different status grounds. So at the Commission, we implement the Act under 4 broad categories of education, employment, provision of goods and services, as well as provision of accommodation on the 7 status grounds of race, ethnicity, origin, marital status, disability, religion, and sex.
Wow, okay. I mean, just off the top of your head, how many cases do you get, let's say, per year?
Over 100.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, under the different categories.
Okay, okay. So how does the work of the Commission, I guess, relate to International Women's Day?
Well, as I was saying, under the categories, we have sex. Sex is one of the status grounds, and when we speak of sex, under the Act, we refer to male or female.
Right.
So the work of the Commission speaks to eliminating discrimination and promoting equality, which is also one of the highlights of International Women's Day. So International Women's Day, it occurs on the 8th of March every year globally, and it speaks to the achievements of women culturally, socially, politically, economically, but it also speaks about the inequalities that women face on a daily basis, as well as the gaps that they face that contribute to not having any equal opportunities.
Right.
So, being, as you would have said, the leading state advocate within the country as it relates to equality, we are in a unique position to speak on statistics as it relates to some of the inequalities that women face in the categories that we would have mentioned.
Right.
So in addition to that, we also do a lot of public outreach where we speak about the discrimination and inequalities, as well as we partner with a lot of NGOs and other organizations that speak to the rights of women, as well as we contribute, lobby, make recommendations to a lot of legislation that has to do with the rights of women. So we are in a position to speak about equality, specifically as it relates to women, but generally equality across the board.
Nice, nice. And is the Commission planning anything in particular for International Women's Day?
Yes, so...
Shelly, this is you.
Yes, this is me. Actually, we do have heightened advocacy and public education programs in March, last week being Zero Discrimination Day, which we observed on March 1st. So we're generally doing a lot of awareness campaigns on our social media, and we're doing a national media tour, such as programs that we're on this morning.
Nice.
And also at the end of the month, we're going to have a roundtable discussion. So we're inviting partner organizations to come on board with us to discuss the topic, words can hurt. So what we're looking at is those seemingly innocent or casual statements that we make every day, and if you say it often enough, sometimes it's stated as fact. So we're looking at those and seeing how we can move towards a society where there is gender parity. So I can't give you much details right now, but you can go on our social media, on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages, our website as well, to find out more information on how you can register for the event as well.
Nice. Now, you mentioned some of the partner organizations. Can you list a few of those? And I mean, why would the EOC want to reach out to these, organizations to partner with?
Some of them, as it relates to women, would be like the Convention against the Committee for the Convention Against the Elimination of Discrimination, Against Women, CADV, the Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And even though we don't specifically deal with domestic violence, we have advocated for some amendments to be made in collaboration with such organizations. We also collaborate with the Gender Studies at the University of the West Indies and various other NGOs that deal specifically with the rights of women.
Yes. Okay. I mean, and then so we talk about, you know, our theme for this month, for this year, in fact, for International Women's Day is breaking the bias. In terms of breaking the bias for the EOC, what does that mean for the organization?
Well, first of all, breaking the bias, it's the overarching campaign for International Women's Day. And so you'd see organizations that have programs every year. We hashtag break the bias to be part of that global movement. And what it looks at is stereotypes of women that limit our opportunities, right? And so what we're doing is looking at two types of bias, which is explicit bias and implicit bias. Now, bias generally is having a preference for or an aversion to a particular group of people, right? And so explicit bias is being aware that you have that bias, and so you have particular attitudes and behaviors toward that group. And implicit bias, which is where we're placing our focus, is you're unconscious of it, so you're not aware that you're doing it. And so how do you go about doing something about it if you're unaware that it's happening, right? And so we want to take a look at how that inherent bias could limit opportunities for women. So the way it translates in the workplace, for instance, let's say you have an interview panel and you have that implicit bias and you're unaware of it, then automatically women going into that interview, they would be at a disadvantage, right? And so it's being self-aware and, you know, educating yourself on your biases and how you can basically overcome those biases. And even that person who gets into the organization, they might be limited in terms of their upward mobility. We know about the glass ceiling, you know, the ability to be promoted within especially sectors that stereotypically people think women don't excel at. Yeah, so that will be our focus for our campaign this year.
Now, what advice can you offer us? Because, of course, you spoke about the implicit, and sometimes the language is there, sometimes we don't know it's there. What advice can you offer us, you know, in terms of at least trying to find a way to break these biases?
So, as she was saying, the insidious nature of bias in most cases is that it's unconscious. So how do you then fix something that you're not aware of? And that is why days like today are so important, because you bring to the forefront the issues that are faced, and therefore you can do some self-reflection and mindful thinking and say, wait, do I have an implicit bias? Because most of the times you're not aware of it. You call out other individuals if you realize, I think you may have a bias towards this or against this or however it works. And then a lot of the times we have all of these public sessions that people need to tune into and educate themselves so that they could carry this information back, because you can't get through to everybody, but if you get through to a few, those few people could take it back to other people as well. And also, family was recognized as a microcosm of society. So what happens in the family setting goes back into society. It's taken into the workplace, into school, other institutions. What are we teaching the younger individuals as acceptable behavior or unacceptable behavior? So we have to look within ourselves. We have to start transferring proper information to the youths as well as the individuals that we are around. We have to create policies that will create diversity and equality and inclusivity within organizations, and not just have the policies, but communicate it, make sure that it is disseminated to staff, they understand it. And all of these things could contribute to the progression of making sure that we break the bias.
Nice.
Just to quickly add to what Cheryl Ann was saying, I think it's also important to hold people accountable, and the Equal Opportunity Commission, we actually provide a mechanism for people to do so. So you can lodge a complaint at the EOC if you think you've been discriminated against, and we will receive, investigate, and conciliate that matter so we can bring redress as well for those who are discriminated against.
Now, Ms. Dolabaille, in the few seconds that we do have, let me just thank you ladies so much. In the few seconds that we do have, if anybody wants to get more information about what we discussed today, about how to lodge a complaint, basically anything about the EOC, any social media handles, any email addresses?
Yes, we're on Facebook at EOC TT. We're also on LinkedIn and YouTube. You can reach us on our website, www.equalopportunity.gov.tt. To lodge a complaint, you can go on the website, or you can also send an email to complaints@eoc.gov.tt. And generally, for more information, and if you want to request a session, if you're part of an organization, you can send an email to communications@eoc.gov.tt.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dolabaille and Ms. Peters. Thank you so much for joining us on International Women's Day, of course, on Now. Thanks again for joining us. And you are, of course, on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Stay with us.